Home, the gold.
He could be too far. No, he's kicking. Oh, what a catch!
Puts a spicy forehand out in front of Naomi Morcilla.
Wu for the win. Team Canada. Garrett Wu!
Santos with the layout grab.
Oh, that fantastic grab. The claws of Chaffer.
Canada just became the world champions.
Yo, Canada and the rest of the world, you're listening to the Huckin podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Theo Wan from Toronto, Ontario.
And I'm Danie Proby from Vancouver, BC, and together we are your coast-to-coast guide to all things Canadian Ultimate. Theo, it was a busy weekend for Ultimate, but was it a busy weekend for you?
I talked about the new job I had, and so Saturday I was covering some soccer games, which was really fun. So our women's team won 1-0, because that's how they say it in soccer, or football as they call it over there in other countries. And then the men's soccer team lost 1-0. And then I drove to Ottawa, not through the night, but after that, and then got into Ottawa, settled in, watched some Blue Jays, and then it was UCI time. So that was my weekend, kind of a little bit busy in terms of work and then going to UCI, but I'll be doing the same this coming weekend, which I'm fired up about. We'll be covering our football team and kind of what's happening with our different sports on Saturday, and then jetting off to Ottawa into the night. Probably we'll get in around 12 or 1, get up at, 7 a.m., and then head to the fields, get ready for some commentating and to be at UCI Senior. So that was my weekend. Yours was filled with more playing, though, so I don't know if you want to talk about that right now or later, or what do you want to share about your busy weekend?
Well, I can share a little bit from my personal perspective because it's not the news part, but in order to be able to go to regionals, we had to book a flight there and back. We had to do a bunch of online forms. I had to get a PCR test Friday morning, a rapid antigen test at the airport Friday day, catch the flight Friday day, get the car rental, all that stuff. We stayed in a room only with our car folks. And so we weren't allowed to mingle in other rooms. We brought the breakfast back into our room. So we were being really safe and stuff, just in case, if somebody goes down with the vid, it only impacts 4 people instead of everybody. And so, yeah, it was pretty hectic. But because we were able to take the PCR test on the Friday, that counted because we got our results during the day on Saturday, so that we could use those results to come home on Sunday. So it actually was pretty efficient. I just want to do a huge, huge shout out to the captains who did so much organizing for this tournament and for literally everything this season. It's the worst year to be a captain. All the stuff that they're having to keep up with, regulations constantly changing. Just I can't even imagine. And not only all of that, but they're also playing and supporting everyone on the team. So shout out to Daisy, Wage, and Nicola, captains of Traffic. Y'all are amazing. So yeah, I'll talk a little bit about traffic in the news. So let's just head there.
News time.
We now have breaking news.
So as per usual, we start with the West. So as I said, I'm going to start with traffic. So we went into the tournament seeded second, and because Underground beat Riot at sectionals, Underground ended up being third and not fourth. So we had Underground in our pool, and we weren't really sure what to expect. I think Ultiworld also thought that game was going to be really close because it was filmed. And we rolled our first game 13-0. We ended up rolling Underground 13-3. And then our tough game of the day, we knew it was going to be exhausting and was going to be against Schwa. They were ranked, I think, 5th by Ultiworld in the power rankings. And it was going to be if you win, you're done for the day. If you lose, you play Riot. So it was really important to win that game. And it was really tight kind of until the end. We kind of D-Line just getting a couple breaks along the way. We ended up winning 13-10. So we got a bye that afternoon. And then it was finals in the morning. Since there's 3 bids, how it works is you play your first game in the morning, which we got to play Riot because Schwa ended up losing to Riot in the game after us. Universe Point, they lost to Riot, Schwa beat Riot the first time by 1, and then Riot beat Schwa the second time by 1. So we played Riot. We rolled them, I think, 13-7. in the final. So then we were done. We only played 4 games this weekend. So it was crazy. And so then Schwa and Riot had to play again for the 3rd time. Riot won this time. Now Schwa has to play a 7th game to earn the 3rd bid. It was a pretty hectic experience. But
Did they win?
Yeah, they got the bid. So it's us. We were number 1 seed, then Riot, then Schwa out of the Northwest region. So we're booking our tickets to San Diego, going to Nationals. It's going to be very exciting. But the most exciting part, most dramatic part, whatever. It wasn't really a big deal.
Dramatic, yeah.
We had a positive test scare in our coaching staff. And so day 1, we didn't have coaches at the field while we were trying to kind of figure this out. We were really transparent with the tournament director, really transparent with the teams. Again, our captains absolutely crushed it. Turned out it was just a scare. Everything was all good. Everyone was at the fields for day 2. We ended up winning. It was a Cinderella story. And now we're home safe and sound. So it was a lot. I was pretty tired, just like emotionally from like haven't played a tournament in so long. And then it was just like a lot of really awesome memories and moments. So yeah. And then in other news in BC, normally, well, maybe not normally, but there isn't usually like a Westerns regionals for CUUC, the university series, because usually the UVic and UBC just play in the States. But this year, because of the border and stuff, they are maybe interested in actually competing in nationals for the first time in a long time. So there was a regional tournament. And so UVic and UBC sent teams on the open and the women's side. But I know Ultimate Canada was looking for them to get another game. And so they asked me to organize like another random women's team. And then they had Blackfish in the open play on the open side. So I strung together this random team. It was half Koish players and half like junior prospects that I know from the different junior teams, and we kind of like mashed them together, and I called them Lower Mainland College. And both Blackfish and Lower Mainland College ended up winning the divisions, which doesn't matter. It was for nothing. But in terms of bids to nationals, UBC men's team ended up earning the bid by beating UVic, and UVic women's team ended up beating UBC women's team for the bid to go. And I think you said that they've both accepted now, right?
Yeah, according to my inside sources here, they have both accepted their bids, and we'll get to more of what teams have accepted as well. But Danie, appreciate you sharing the news about BC. Kind of interesting. I like the idea of making up your own college name, first of all. Lower Mainland College, LMC. They'd probably be like the LMC Lancers or like the LMC Lions or something, right? Is that kind of what you're thinking for the mascot or what?
Yeah, whatever you think. The difficult part about like the standings, especially on the women's side, is I know that UBC hasn't done tryouts, and this fall season is very independent from spring season. So this fall, it's basically anyone that was interested in going to nationals, like that wanted to do the flights and do all of that, and went to UBC and played Frisbee, would be on that team. Traffic was gone, so they were missing some players there. They were missing quite a few of their normal vets that would normally be playing, so it wasn't really their full roster. So unfortunately, that's kind of like how it goes in the fall for the BC teams. Like we don't usually have our crap together this early on in the year. So congratulations to UVic. Like they, from experience, we always would kind of get on the ground like running right away in September. We were always so excited. So they had their stuff together. They showed up and they played hard, and they've got some really good new talent on the team and some wily veterans. So congrats to UVic on the women's side, and congrats to UBC on the men's side.
Yeah, excited to see both teams do battle here in Ontario later this month in October. But Danie, before we get to some of the Ontario news, I just got to ask, like, you only played 4 games. Was that like bittersweet to know that you traveled all the way and went through all the protocols for just 4 games? Or were you more just stoked that you had booked a ticket to San Diego, so you were like, we can just relax now, it's all good? Or would you have rather play more games? Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah, it's a hard one because we worked out the math. It would have been like $250 a game would cost us to play or something like that. But no, it was worth it. And we haven't played Ultimate in so long. And so there was a concern about the volume of playing 2 weekends in a row. Now that's not really a concern. So having 4 games was a great kind of tune up for UCI. So we're going to be rested and ready to go.
All right, you heard it here first. So now we're going to jet our way over East Coast. Not East Coast yet. We're going to go stop in the prairies. University of Manitoba. I told you there. I don't know if Quinn Snyder was playing this weekend, but they have some strong players, some general strike players on that team. And so Manitoba, they'll be going to CUC on the men's side, and they won in 2019. So since there was no 2020, they're going for the repeat here. They're going for back-to-back titles. And Regina, I don't know if they're the Regina Cougars, their ultimate team, but as of right now, my insider sources have told me they have not decided or accepted the bid yet. That's at least at the time of this recording. So we don't know if they're going to go, but that's the news there. And I'll jump all the way to the East Coast for a second. Atlantic, it seems like there were no bids handed out there from what I've been told from the, like I said, the insider sources. So now let's head to a big tournament that happened in Ontario. I wasn't there for it, but lots of interesting things happened. That was Steel Town. And, Danny, we published these rankings. I know it's more of an Ontario thing, but a lot of Ontario people were talking about it, that their team was seated too high or seated mostly because their team was seated too low. And they're like, Theo, why is my team seated so low? And I said, hey, it's the people voting. Like, I actually didn't vote. So it's like the captains and coaches are voting and kind of based on what they had seen earlier, last year or whatever that is. But so we'll start here in the women's division. My finals picks, Toronto, Waterloo, actually ended up in the same pool. So Toronto beat Waterloo and finished first in their pool. And to be honest, I think they kind of went unscathed in this tournament. So I'm looking at their pool play results, and they beat Waterloo, which was the third seed in the tournament, 13-2 in the first game. So that's not really a close thing there. Yeah, that's not close. And then the other pool, McMaster, won the pool, beating Western. And so they were kind of the first seed out of there. And then Toronto, I'm looking at some of these scores here. Like, dang, this is unreal. I don't know if you had a chance to see this, but Toronto beat the Rams. They're actually called the Rams, and I can't call them Ryerson. So Toronto beat the Rams 15-1. In quarterfinals, and then Toronto beats Western 14-2 in semifinals, and then in the finals, Toronto beats Waterloo 12-4. So that's actually pretty insane. I know they have a lot of top players. Sarah Marr's on that team now, and Britt DeSantos, Crystal DeSantos, Jade. I can't say your last name. Sorry, Jade. I don't know it. She's one of the captains, and she is playing for Sixers. So I'm sure they're happy to secure the bid and not have to deal with it over at Easterns, which we'll talk about later. But on the open side, lots of upsets. The rankings were thrown topsy-turvy, is all I got to say. Ryerson was seated super high because, for those that know the university scene, they came second last year, but a lot of those players are not there anymore. So it is not the same team. And so they were seated first in the whole tournament, but ended up actually fourth in the pool based on score differential. So York Lions. I know some of these people personally, and I know they were excited about their results. So York Lions, you came in first in your pool. Good job. And on the other side, Waterloo and Toronto, my finals picks, were actually in the same pool. Waterloo besting everyone and kind of cruising to the finals here. 13-6, 14-9 over my finals pick in Toronto. And then this is look away to my alma mater. My alma mater lost, but the finals, 15-2, Danny. Oh, don't want to see that in any finals. So I will say this, once again, insider sources, but I had some people say the format of the tournament, the way it was set up, they didn't agree with how the pools were set up, and they said the pools were uneven, so some of the stronger teams were in one pool, and it caused the bracket to be kind of like skewed where like the top teams had to play each other kind of through one side of the bracket, and there was like easier side of the bracket. So that's why it may have led to a certain result. So, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's sort of what I heard. Not sure from who, but that's what I heard. So Waterloo, congratulations.
Another inside source.
Another inside source. So I will say, boosting up the ego here, 3 of 4 of my picks were correct for the Ontario picks here. And then on the Quebec side, I'm not going to give you as many detailed results, but University of Montreal on the open side defeated Laval to win a bid. And so Montreal, that was my prediction. they made it come true. So good job, Montreal. And then McGill women's defeats Laval to take the bid. And those were my finals picks as well. Exactly how I drew it up. So 3 for 4 there as well. Danie, you can't chirp me anymore about these university picks because clearly I know what I'm talking about.
I'm going to try really hard to stop chirping you about your Ontario university picks and Quebec university picks.
Okay. UCI picks is a whole other story, which we'll get to. But so just to summarize it for the audience here, your teams that are going to University Nationals as of right now, as of this recording, UBC in the open side, Manitoba, Waterloo, Montreal, and I forgot about the Eastern qualifiers. Queens was able to defeat both Carleton and Ottawa to get the bid. So that was not my pick. I picked Carleton to beat Queens. So good job, Queens, there. And then on the women's side, UVic is going to Nationals, Toronto, McGill, and then Queens again. So Queens women actually won. So they proved my prediction to be true. So that's sort of all the university stuff going on here. But yeah, Danie, do you have any thoughts on sort of even not just all this Ontario stuff, but the fact that these West Coasters get to come over to the East Coast and show their stuff? I wish this happened many years ago, but we finally get it here in 2021.
I'm so excited because we were always curious about how the BC teams would do if they flew over there for these tournaments, because we always see them happening and it's always such a big buzz. So we get to actually see it for real this year. And if you are an alum of either UBC or UVic, I'm sure both of them, I know UVic women's definitely does, but I think both teams will definitely have some sort of crowdfunding or something. Being a college kid and paying for flights is so tough, especially when you're going to have more tournaments in the spring. So if you are an alum and you're in a place where you can donate to these teams, please do. I've donated to the UVic women's team, so to hopefully make their trip a little bit easier. So that's my call to action for all of you out there listening.
Yeah, do you know if there's going to be like some teams, I have a UBC long sleeve myself. I will say that. It was for a fundraiser for one of my friends, Kevin Chow, when he was playing on the team. He played there, I think, for a year or two. He's doing law school out there. And so will they be doing something like that, maybe, like where they can sell some of their sweet gear? Because I like their logo and stuff, or some of their gear. So do you think maybe they haven't thought of it yet, but hey, UVic, UBC, if you're listening, I'm sure people would love to support you by buying some sweet gear and being able to wear it, and then also supporting your team to be able to go. But my question is, so are they not sending, like, I don't want to say they're going to send a B squad per se, but are they sending like 28 people because all of them signed up? Are they making cuts, or what? Do you know anything about sort of what's happening there in the fall, like with them coming to Brampton?
I think for UVic, usually it's pretty clear the number size. Like we sometimes would do cuts and make a B team come January, but it's very not typical. Usually the rookies that come onto the team know that the team exists and they've played Frisbee before and they fit in. So I doubt it. And on the UBC side, they've been doing some open practices, so they might actually have a tournament roster that they'll be selecting at some point. But I know that they're going to have a plethora of people to choose from because there's lots of very talented players at UBC.
Yeah, UBC, we can't wait to see you. But we're going to take a quick break here and be back. We got a jam-packed episode, folks. We just did the news. We're going to recap UCI Masters, which was really fun. And then, oh, baby, come on. It's UCI Senior. Don't call it adult. It's senior. UCI Senior. We got predictions. We got, games to watch, all that good stuff. Danie, I think this is pretty much why we made the podcast, is to be able to talk about this kind of stuff. So
we've arrived. This is it.
Yeah, we've arrived. Let's go. Let's get to it after the break. Welcome,
everybody, to Main Event Part 1. We've got 2 main events today. There's lots of stuff happening. First of all, Theo, I know you weren't there day 1, but you were there day 2. What was the atmosphere? What was the grass like? Tell me so I can visualize in my mind while I sleep at night.
Danie, first of all, have you been to UPI before? I think we.
Of course I have.
Okay, you have.
Of course
okay,
I have.
So you know. Yeah, I drove in like super early. I think I came in like at 7:30, so I wanted to be bright and early. And of course, Danny Saunders was already there. TL is already there. High school students helping out, already there, helping out with the parking. And it was smooth entrance right in. And Yeah, I mean, I got there early enough that teams weren't coming in yet, but just to see, honestly, during the commentating and broadcasting, just seeing, like, not just the game I'm broadcasting, which I'm used to, right? Broadcasting one game off games, but like seeing like lines of fields like everywhere. Like there were Masters games. And then the Eastern University qualifier was also at UPI, so I got to go take a look at what Queens and Carleton were up to in Ottawa and those things. So that was really cool as well. So just to be able to see all that was pretty amazing. And I was sitting there thinking, like, you know, I kind of wish I was playing, but, you know, I like being in the booth as well. I was talking about it while broadcasting, and knowing that this weekend I'm going to be able to do the same. Only going to be there Sunday, but Danie, you'll be there both days. So for those Huckin fans out there, if you see Danie playing or just walking around, please go up to her and like tell her how cool she is. Like treat her like a celebrity. Just do that on my behalf, please. Just be like,
Please don't.
Are you Danie Proby, like the host of Huckin? Like, can I get an autograph or something? Like a selfie? Like, please do that. I just like
Get out of here.
To please do that.
No, don't do it. It'd be so embarrassing. Okay.
That's the point.
Okay.
That's the point.
So that's all lovely. Now let's just dive in. I want to start with Masters Women's, talking a little bit about how that all went down. So just in general, we're going to talk a little bit about our picks, but first, it's just an interesting note that the closest game in the pool play for all of the pools was 13-7. Just like a note across the board. A lot of the games were blowouts one way or the other, which sometimes you expect that at a pool play, but usually you hope for a couple games that are going to be a little bit closer. In general, Vintage did a lot better than both you and I had anticipated. So good job for the folks on that team. And Queen's P did a little bit worse than we predicted. So sometimes we're wrong. That's okay. But Queen's P and Berta were top first and second for Spirit, which was awesome. It's such an honor to win Spirit. So we were both very, very right, Theo, on picking the top two teams. So good for us. If I'm looking kind of at what we picked, we both picked Stello to win and Berta to come second. I picked Macrame to come third, and they did come third. So congratulations to them.
Congratulations to you for getting that right as well. It sounds like you got the top three right, so that's pretty sick, actually. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, if you were putting money on that in Vegas, like, you'd be making a lot, so.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool looking through all the different scores for all these teams and imagining, but the final score was 13-7, so a little bit of a blowout, I would say. Would you say that that's a close game or something that you come to expect out of a final score?
Well, I actually commentated this game, so I had the pleasure of being able to commentate it. And, you know, some of these Stello players, like I saw the roster and I know some of the names, like we've hyped up Samantha Green, for example, and Anne Mercier now, and Boulanger, but just to actually see them in person, like I saw Dom Ryu for the first time. We've, talked and stuff about podcasting or other things, and just seeing her throw a couple dimes, like Hucks for scores, like right off the pole. Like I was like, dang, like this is actually cool to see it in action and to see what it was like. So Stello and Berta actually played a very close first half. It was similar to their pool play matchup where actually Berta took half and then Stello like went off and won. So it was actually a really tight first half. And then Stello got an upwind break, which allowed them to take half eventually at 7-5, I believe. And then they basically didn't look back after that. And it was like kind of smooth sailing and they kind of dominated and won. So congrats to Stello. It's something to note, Danie, is that lowercase won in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. So there's actually two, like they did this on purpose so that they could try to get on Ottawa like two bids to World Clubs. And it sounds like they've achieved that goal. So Ottawa Women's Masters was represented with Solstice and Nebula, as well as Aguada, which is in Gatineau, Quebec, but that's like across the river apparently. So it's like,
it's amazing. 3 different teams.
Yeah, a lot of Ottawa representation is all I'm saying for Women's Masters. So, and their women's junior program, like nothing to scoff at as well. So they're just developing over there.
Yeah. So it seems like a very, in general, exciting. I think the Vintage Aguada game, that was probably the closest game of the entire tournament on the women's side. It was 9-8 Aguada over Vintage. So would have loved rather to be a fly on the wall for that game, to be able to watch everybody out there competing. So Do you have anything that you want to add before we head over to the mixed section? Do you want to go a little bit farther down into our picks to see who was more right?
Sure. I mean, once again, if you're watching the YouTube version of this, I think Danie has like her two screens right in front of her, but I have like my monitor to the side, so I am not watching Frisbee as we are doing this. I'm just looking at the results. So let's see here. I think we're gonna first out ourselves and say we both picked Vintage to be last, and that was like a terrible pick. Like we both picked them to be last, and they came fifth. So come on, like that's yeah. We both picked Sakosh to finish fifth, and they came eighth. So, hey, we're just admitting sometimes we got some of the picks wrong. So, what else are we noting here? Aguada we picked to be pretty low as well, and they came fourth. So,
yeah,
some of our missteps.
Looking at this, I think I got 4 right out of 9, and you got 2.
I got 2. Ouch! So you win that round for sure.
We love to hear it. That's 1-0 or 1-0, I guess.
1-0. Hey, the soccer way. That's the way we gotta do it.
All right.
So we'll jump here to mixed division. Okay, so I met this team, so commentate their game. So I will admit this on the podcast. Vancouver, I'm looking right in the camera. Vancouver, Forever Young. You did way better than we expected, and we will put our foot in our mouths and say, we did not expect what you pulled out. So, hey, congrats to you. As well as BOD. We did not hype you up as well. And you did very well coming in second. I watched you play against Reunion, commentating on the broadcast, and they were so efficient. I was very impressed with BOD. And unfortunately, the women's final and mixed final were at the same time, so I couldn't watch Epoch and BOD play. So that's just how the schedule turned out. But BOD and Forever Young, you were both, you made us look bad, is all I'm saying. Okay? First and second in the pool, like they were potted third and fourth, right? So here's the note that Danie wrote. Theo was better guessing at the top. I believe that's true. Let's see. So I picked the first and third team right in Reunion and Epoch. But I will say, Danie, you picked the bottom 3 to be right, so I will congratulate you on that.
Thank you. I'll take any congratulations. I really missed the mark. I think the Happy Campers roster is potentially a little bit different than I had seen in years past. I just hate playing against them. They're so fast.
Can I give you a take with this, though?
Yeah.
That was told to me. Hopefully I can... Well, I'm just going to share. But I was talking to Danie at the end of the day, and Danie
not me. Other Danie.
Danie Saunders, and Danie did not play for Happy Campers on day 2. So that is something to note.
And he is good.
He said he's starting O-line handler. So I was like, hey, you're missing your starting O-line handler. Like, that's worth a couple points. And I think they lost by a couple points in their, let's see here, in their, their playing game. They lost 10-9 to Reunion. So, hey, he might be worth that couple, those couple points there could have swayed.
And they lost 7-9 to Max Power, too, after that.
Yeah.
So tight games.
Yeah.
Interesting. Bit of a hot take. You do, as a player, you don't want to be so pivotal, but it's kind of nice to be like, yeah, I'm the reason,
Okay.
It's not. Yeah.
So speaking of that, as we get into Danie boasting about herself here, let's talk about Spirit standings. So,
to be fair, I'm not that on traffic, so.
Hey, at least she admits it. So let's take a look at Spirit. Magma Rock out of Toronto. Congratulations, Spirit. 12.43. Is that really high for Spirit score? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that really high?
That's good. Yeah, it's really good.
Pushing Daisies, Firefly. You guys were all above, or your whole team was above 12, so good job. Reunion up there, too. Forever Young. Sorry to say, you did great when it comes to the playing, but the Spirit score is a little low there at 9. Is that low? I don't know. Is that low for Spirit?
It's
9.10.
Yeah, we don't like the 9 in the 9s. You want to be 10 and above. I think if it's in the 9s, you're there's people are giving you some below average scores. So is it a Vancouver anti-bias? Maybe. I'm just saying.
Well, I should throw my anti-Kitchener bias right now because KWG, I picked you to go all the way to the final to finish second, and you came in seventh. Ouch. Didn't make it out of the pool. Didn't make it out of the pool into bracket play. So KWG, hey, you came in third in 2019, so I had lots of high hopes for you. But, sometimes things just don't go your way. I heard through a birdie that, things just kind of fell apart for their team and kind of in their own heads. And I think I've seen this before with other teams, right? Like, you come in hyped for a tournament. Sockeye is the biggest one I remember from a few years ago when they were coming in super hyped and they lost all their pool play games and were out of the bracket. Like that happens. Like, you lose one game and it kind of just like, you're like, uh-oh, like doubt starts to like go in your mind and then it just kind of rolls off from there. So anyways, KWG finishing in seventh, but I think they had higher hopes than that. But you have some more things to talk about with mixed, right?
Yeah, I guess just reunion scores like seemed kind of shockingly low, especially in pool play. I was like, oh gosh, like were we super wrong about the strength of this team? But they really rallied in bracket play and they ended up winning their crossover against Happy Campers. And then they kind of got crushed, your words, crushed in the stream semifinal. But they beat Forever Young.
Score lines, yeah. Not
they ended
the
up
closest game, but
they ended up winning 9-8 over Forever Young for bronze. So congratulations to Reunion. You scared us for a second there. Thanks for pulling it together. Other tight games I want to give a shout out to. We have Max Power winning 13-12 over Dinner at 4, and we also have Firefly winning 10-9 over Pushing Daisies. I'm a sucker for close games. Whether they're universe.
Too, right?
Yeah.
No,
we love it. So the final ended up being 12-7, which isn't exactly tight, but congratulations to Epoch for that win over BOD.
Yeah, and last but not least, Open pools. They went as we kind of predicted, and Ensom did better than we both thought. And hey, we will admit right now, we both got the winner wrong. Tombstone, we were stoked about you. And from what I heard, just not enough bodies. And, as I was talking about Tombstone to other people, they were just like, Theo, they're like potentially a decade older than some of the Masters teams that they're playing. And so people often forget that Tombstone's actually a Grandmasters team. And even before this tournament, they had a bid to WUCC as Tombstone for Grandmasters. So that's just something to remember. But, Danny, I'm looking here at our notes. Bottom 3 right again. Is this true? Can it be? Oh,
of course it
she got be. She got the bottom 3 right again, but
nothing else.
Nothing else. Well, neither did I, because I really went off the board here, and still a couple of people were chirping me about this. They're like, Theo, you picked Carbon to beat us? Come on! And you know what? Still, I was wrong. I will admit it to you on the podcast. You came out and showed us why you are still the defending Masters champions in the Open division.
Nice.
And to be honest, they beat Ensom, and it didn't seem that close. So I streamed the game. They kind of went off early on breaks and kind of took it off from there. So congratulations. Spirit scores. We got to talk about that. So, Danny, this is something you noted. Tombstone and Ensom finishing 1 and 2 in Spirit. And, can you tell us, why you noted that? Because I kind of glanced at the Spirit standings and didn't really, this didn't stick out to me, but it definitely stuck out to you, right?
You'll find it's typical at most tournaments where if you're a team that's kind of getting not scoring as many points, let's just say it. Generally speaking, you're maybe more a developmental team. You're there for more fun. You're not as fierce of a competitor. And our concept of Spirit is fun and nice, even if that's maybe not really what Spirit is supposed to be technically. It's still seen as that for a lot of people. So oftentimes you'll see teams that are finishing kind of in the lowest in the standings will finish the highest in Spirit. It's very common. And it was common in some other divisions, but that is definitely not true in Open, which I find really, really interesting. And I think it could just be that potentially these athletes' definition of Spirit's more about integrity and playing your best no matter what, and those kinds of aspects of Spirit. So just an interesting note.
Yeah, interesting note too is maybe the scores were a little bit, I don't want to say inflated, but it seemed like all the scores were above 10. So kudos to you. Maybe it's not inflated. Kudos to all the teams for doing that. And clearly it was a mutual thing throughout all the games, right? So Tombstone and Ensom, congrats. And not controversy, but if you look at the schedule, you would notice that Ensom won in the 2-3 game, but no game actually took place. So Ensom lost in the final. Ensom got a bid to WUCC. If they choose to accept it, I don't know if the inside sources did not tell me if they accepted it yet, but I think they will. But Tombstone already had a Grandmasters bid, and dropping bodies throughout the tournament. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
They are called Tombstone after all. No, I'm just kidding. But that's their name, not mine. So, anyways, they decided to forfeit. But there were some other interesting results that I wanted to bring up, which was that Dead Circus, you lost to Tombstone twice by 1. Like, that's pretty cool. So, congrats to Dead Circus. First of all, I love the name. So, I think, is that summarized, like, all the UCI Masters hoopla that went on? I think, obviously, it didn't feel like a full, and I think everyone there would say, like, it didn't feel like a full national tournament, not the 3 days, not the Saturday party and all that good stuff, and, the showcase finals and all that stuff, but I still think it's pretty cool that you saw teams from BC, Alberta, East Coast, all in one place. And I know, Danie, you're excited for that this weekend.
I am so excited. Yeah, it must have been so fun seeing all your friends again at the fields, at UPI Fields. I am excited to be there this weekend.
Hey, remember to say hi to Danie.
Yeah, please say hi to me. I love being said hi to. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to hear from our beloved sponsor, VC. We're both repping these Revo hoodies, Huckin A. You can get them at the VC store. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but they will be at UCI, and so will you. So we'll be right back after this break. This episode is sponsored by VC Ultimate. Now, if you know me, or you've seen me on the fields, or you've seen me coaching, you know I'm repping VC Ultimate. VC is a company that proudly puts values and company before profit. VC is the world's best source for quality, design, and all of your ultimate needs. So check out VC to get your gear now.
Hey, this is Julia Peden, head coach of the Western University Open Ultimate Team and commentator for the AUDL Canada Cup. You're listening to the Huckin A podcast, your coast-to-coast guide for all things Canadian Ultimate.
Welcome to our main event, part 2. Let's start with the women's division. Now, Theo, I have made my picks, but they're in a secret vault, locked up, where traffic wins every game 13-0, and it's really awesome. So I don't feel comfortable actually sharing my legit picks on the podcast, and I know you respect that decision. Absolutely. And I appreciate it.
Yeah,
so
no, for sure.
I am curious what you think, and my feelings will not be hurt no matter what.
I mean, yeah, prepare to bring some tissues is all I got to say about that. So anyways, why don't you start by telling us the pools, where each team is from, and then you'll break down the pools, and then I'll go into my picks. Let's do it.
Yeah, so we have in Pool J, Sixers out of Toronto in the number 1 seed, Stella out of Ottawa, number 2 seed, Fusion from Winnipeg, number 3, Cube from Quebec City, and we have Koish from Vancouver. So that makes Pool J. For Pool K, we have Iris out of Quebec. We have Traffic from Vancouver as the number 2 seed, Salty from Halifax, number 3. Number 4, we have PPF from Kitchener. And number 5, we have Wildish from Calgary, potentially / Edmonton. Not sure. So, lay it on me, Theo. What do you got going on for your pools?
All right, prediction time. Let's go. Here to redeem myself after some UCI mishaps on the Masters picks there, but redeemed a little bit on the university pick. So J1 Sixers. I know you got a bit of a younger squad coming, but I still believe your talent and experience in the big games will shine through. So Sixers I have going 4-0, and then I have Fusion out of Winnipeg going 3-1, defeating Stella in the key game, and Stella going 2-2, Cube going 1-3, and sorry to your friends in Koish, I have them going 0-4, but getting lots of experience. I do have that in my picks. So that's Pool J, but Pool K is where it gets spicy because there's a couple games that are like going to be contested here. So for the team I have winning this pool is Vancouver Traffic because
Let's go.
Traffic had a good time in the Northwest Regionals. They're bringing some momentum. So Saturday, they're going to get the better of Iris. And then I have Salty coming in third place, beating my people that I know on PPF out of Kitchener-Waterloo. But they got some Toronto people this year as well. And then Wildish, I have them last, unfortunately. So coming in to now, the vaunted Pool M, right? The top 4 teams. So it's Sixers, Traffic, Fusion, Iris. So into the bracket play, I have Sixers beating Traffic. Sorry, Danny. Fusion going winless and Iris beating Fusion there. So that's sort of how the Pool M wraps up. And then the playing games is going to be Salty defeating Cube and PPF defeating Stella. Is that right? Did I pick that?
Yeah. That's what I see on your
shoot,
picks.
I went spicy. Okay,
Too late to change.
Yeah, too late to change. PPF, I picked you to win. Salty, I picked you to beat PPF, and that's kind of like the playing games. That's not like the top 4, but the big game is like where it's gets real spicy because there's no Sixers in this. So just so you know, there's no Sixers in this. So Traffic, Iris in the final, and Danny, you might want to plug your ears, but I got Quebec Iris coming through. Jesse Grignon, Tomas, Anushka Baudry. A lot of that team's been practicing together now for a while. And they are going to take out Traffic. I know, Danny, this crushes your heart. But I wrote it down in the picks. Got to stick to it. So I have Quebec, Iris defeating Traffic. And then I have Fusion beating Salty in the, I guess would be fourth place game? Fourth place game, yes. So that's what I have there. Danny, those are my picks. It is a little weird, I will admit right now, because when I listen to I guess we'll call it our brother podcast, Deep Look, because they've referred to us as sister podcasts before, I will say. So Charlie and Keith don't play on teams anymore, like that compete at regionals and nationals. So it's like when they make picks, they don't really have associations, especially like saying it to the others. So it's kind of weird for me right now to like pick against your team or pick for your team when you're in the room. So I'm just saying it's a little like, it's like you're evaluating someone, but they're like in the room with you as you evaluate them. So it's a little awkward. But hey, we'll roll with it.
I'm going to be just like every other team that you've picked against, and I'm going to use it as fuel, and you're going to be wrong like you almost always are, unless it's college. So no hard feelings here. Do you want to explain a little bit about how the kind of bid game works? Because even if Sixers kind of wins out Pool M or whatever the pool of death is, and all 4 of the top teams kind of come together, why is it that Iris and Traffic would be in quote unquote the finals for a bid?
Yeah, so basically Sixers won in 2019 CUC, so they there was no World Ultimate Guts obviously in 2020, so that bid is going to carry over into 2022 when they go to World Clubs, so they will go as Sixers, but like represent Canada and take one of the bids. So I think what Ultimate Canada decided was, instead of kind of seeing like, oh, if Traffic makes it, if Sixers makes it, what happens? Like, they just took Sixers out of the equation. And so if you look at the schedule, it says, when it re-ranks, it says if Sixers in the top 2, then the 3rd seed, which in my case would be Iris, goes to UPI 1 into the bid game with the 2nd place team, which I have as Traffic. So that's sort of how they did that for women's. So those are my picks. But Danny, before we move to the other divisions, I kind of touch on it a little bit, but do you have some games, obviously you're not going to predict, but do you have some games that you're like, hey, if you're keeping an eye out, you can't spectate. So unfortunately, you can't come in and into the complex here and take out the binoculars and watch. But if you're watching the scores at home or the Twitter feeds, What game should they be looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm quite excited to see how the following games go, just because I have no idea what to expect out of these teams. So I have PPF versus Salty. Super curious about that matchup. Iris versus Traffic, obviously near and dear to my heart. Want to know how that goes down. And Stella versus Fusion. Like, for me, that might even be the most gamiest game to watch if I could pick. So those are the ones that I'm saying are on my hit list for wanting to know, most curious about.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, that Stella Fusion game will be streamed by Ultimate on Saturday. So make sure you tune into that. You can go to the Ultimate Canada Facebook or YouTube page and watch it. But those two teams have been, I would say, Davey, and you would probably admit this as well, there's kind of like a hierarchy. You see this in USAU as well. It used to be kind of like Fury, Riot all the time, and there were other teams trying to break through, and Molly Brown's done that, and Scandal did it at a time. So in Canada, I would say it's like there's 3, and then in Traffic, Sixers, Iris, and then there's these teams bubbling, trying to claw into that other top tier, and I would say Stella and Fusion are those two teams. So
yeah, I would agree. And normally Sneaky House Hippos would be in there too in a normal year and everything. One thing I do want to note is I think that you're sleeping on Koish, and I think they're going to end up making you eat your socks, so they say.
Okay, I like that. Hey, and maybe Cube or some other team's going to do the same. So it happened in Masters, right? When we said BOD, like they completely like took us by surprise, and Forever Young as well. So, and I got a little bit of, I don't want to say flack, but I did hear from someone on Forever Young at the field. So I do like that. And it's good for a little bit of.
Oh, well, somebody slid into my DMs, so don't worry.
Someone slid in your DMs. So, hey, if you don't like our picks, you can slide into our DMs and tell us how we're going to improve us wrong. Yeah. So we do like that. So
no problem.
That's women's. And
yeah.
And we still got more divisions to go. So let's jump in mixed division now. Ray, did I read the notes properly? Yes, mixed division. Let's go. So, pools. Pool A, Kitchener-Waterloo Crash, first seed. Hopefully I say the city right. Saint-Jean. Oh, I got to make sure I say it right. Jean-sur-le-Richaud. I totally butchered that. Battleship. Anyways, Battleship out of Quebec is the second seed. Danie, you can try that name another time. But
I'm good.
But Hamilton, Crux, and then Fredericton, New Brunswick. I love the East Coast representation. Spawn is here, taking up the 4th seed in Pool A. And then Pool B, we have Toronto Union, Quebec City Quest, Fable out of your place, Vancouver, British Columbia, and Local 613 out of Kingston, Ontario. And then Pool C, we have Barrie Force. I love this pool, first of all. Vancouver Red Flag, hometown team Ottawa Crank, and then Red Fox in Quebec as well. And then Pool D, some more geographic representation. Winnipeg's PBHG, Pretty Boys, Handsome Girls, great name. Gazpacho. Toronto and...
Have you never had gazpacho before?
I don't know what that is, to be honest. So...
It's a cold soup.
Oh, no thanks. Oh, what? It's a play on their team. Okay, now I get it. Oh, man, it makes sense. I will say, you learn something new on the podcast. And just so people know,
that's so funny.
We're recording this super late into the Eastern time. Like, I was at the Jays game tonight. We lost, so you'll have a clue of what day we recorded this on. And it's a long day, but, we got to keep going. So, TT out of Vancouver, Toronto Zen. I'm excited to see what they can do. Zen, but this pool, like Pool D, pool of death in my opinion. Just like a lot of good teams here, really hard to decide what's going to shape up out of it. So those are all the pools. So Danie, we'll start with Pool A. Once again, apologies to Battleship for butchering your city's name there, but Pool A, what do you got going on there? And then I'll go with my picks.
I have it going to chalk. Is that what they say?
Yeah, chalk, yeah.
Yeah, I have it going Crash, Battleship, Crux, and Spawn in that order.
I mean, chalk it up as well. I got the same, so we're just going to move right on into Pool B here.
Well, I go Union Quest, Fable, Local 613. Unfortunately.
All right, that is not what I have. I was wrestling back and forth between Quest and Local 613, but I am going to pick Quest, and I'm going to go Union Quest, Local 613, and then Fable. So Local 613, they have a couple like people that, some people from the university scene, but people have been playing there in Kingston for a bit. So I'm going to pick Local to take pool B in the third slot, not take the whole pool. Union's going to take the whole pool.
All right, for Pool C, I have Red Flag, then Force, then Crank, then Red Fox. So I have Force and Red Flag basically trading spaces.
Danny, don't read my mind here, but, I got the same. Red Flag, I've been talking about them on this podcast many a time. I've never seen you actually play, but the roster's got me hyped. Please don't let me down. Like, we got the hype coming for you. We got the hype train coming for Red Flag, and hopefully they show us what's up at UCI. So I got the same.
All right, for Pool D, gets a little saucy for me. So I've got Gazpacho taking it down, then TT, then PBHG, then Zen. So I've got it kind of flipped minus Zen. Everyone else is kind of flipped around, so.
Yeah, you got it really flipped around. And once again, I swear to the audience, we don't know, we're not just picking at the same time. So I picked it I think a day or two before she did. But I'll explain my reasoning here. Gazpacho's just got a strong squad, but TT, you got the addition of Breton 10 in there? That's worth a couple points in my opinion. So TT, I'm gonna pick you to beat PBHG in a close game. We're gonna say 13-12, okay? So pools, that's what we got going on. And mixed, the format's a little bit different here than open, where open just goes right to quarterfinals there, Danny. So it's a little different where there's playing games for second and third in each pool. So the first 4 seeds get buys to quarterfinals. And so your playing games will start kind of with the top. Who do you have in your first playing game, which is game A?
Yeah, so to go through all the playing games, I've got Quest over Crank. I've got Force over Local 613. I've got Battleship over PBHG. And I have TT over Crux moving through. So
yeah, I have the exact same picks, straight up.
Oh my gosh!
So we got the exact same.
No way. Okay. So the next round, I've got Crash over Quest. Are you with me still?
Yeah, I think we're the same here.
I swear I'm looking at my sheet. Gazpacho over Force, of course. Union over Battleship, and Flag over TT. Okay, Theo's laughing. And then I have Gazpacho overtaking Crash, Red Flag overtaking Union. And so we've got a Red Flag over the exact same. That's so funny. And do you have Red Flag winning the whole thing? Wonderful. Well, this is boring.
I know. Don't worry. We got Spice coming, I think in the open episode. But yeah. Danny, we picked similar picks, even though I think, to be truthful, I think of all the divisions mixed, and we'll talk about our picks contest later, but even just briefly looking at what people picked in the pick contest, open, there was only 3 teams that people picked. I think there was 1 team that got 1 pick, and women's, it was 2 teams that got picks. Mixed, people were kind of picking all, choosing different places, because this one's the most wide open. But how I see it going is Gazpacho, their talent is going to shine through, and Red Flag, same thing. So I was asking you off air, the Red Flag Union semifinal will be a very spicy one. And I was asking you, who on Red Flag is going to be able to stop the speed that is Mr. Andrew Carroll? So do you know who will be able to do that? Because I think that'll be the big, one of the key matchups there in that game.
Yeah, the thing with Red Flag is that they're all so fast, and I've got a nameless source that said we're either going to come first or 8th, which I thought was a really funny thing to say and very on the nose. And I wouldn't disagree, because it's such a young roster. They're going to either come out blitzing and no one's going to be able to keep up, or they're going to get in their own heads. So
is what you're saying.
Yeah. So a 1st or 8th is either they're living up to their potential or they're living in their own heads. So I know there's a lot of young guys that will be able to match up on Carroll. I don't think they have the experience as him, so they might need to do some other stuff, some bracketing, some switching, some helping to try to contain. But yeah, it's gonna be an exciting thing to see. I've got some games to watch. PBHG versus TT, I think will be really exciting. Force versus Red Flag, we both noted we're excited for that one. Crash and Battleship, I have no idea what to expect out of that one. It's a coin toss. And Fable versus Local 613, I think that's also going to be a really tight game. Very, very exciting stuff. Theo, I hope we're both wrong. I don't know. That's just too boring that we picked the same thing.
But we didn't go really to chalk, though, because here's the other thing about the chalk thing that we talk about, because normally when you see the tournament, you go based off season results. But since this year that didn't happen, it's really like there were pots. So that's what I mean. Like Force was given the top pot or whatever, and they were given pool C. But because of geographic things, Red Flag got moved into Force's pool, and that's just not a fair match by my opinion, because I think both of those teams are like potentially top 4 teams, and they're in the same pool. So it's just, it's how it goes sometimes. And I'll talk about that in open as well, how I feel some of the pools, the way it shook out, is actually going to penalize a team that should be kind of higher than it's going to end up.
Speaking of open,
we'll jump.
Can you give us a little preview of Z pools? Before we even, I guess, dive in, I know that a little birdie told me this afternoon that, no, it was actually like a couple weeks ago, but Furious George is actually flying out tomorrow. So this would be Wednesday. They're flying out Wednesday and they're coming home Monday. So they're actually getting in a game against Phoenix and a game against Mephisto on Thursday and on Friday. So they're getting a game each day before the tournament even begins. And my question for you, Theo, if you're a coach of Furious George or any of these teams that are playing early games against teams that they're going to be competitive with, do you try to screw with them a little bit? Or do you want to actually test out your real new strategies and give them an early look?
Well, first of all, if I ever get to the place of being able to coach one of those teams, that would be amazing. Because all those people that have been that coach there have been doing it for years, and kudos to you for giving up your time and doing that. So I want to say that first. But second, I'm not a big fan, to be honest, of this strategy for any of the teams. I don't think it's a good idea to scrim people that you're going to be playing. It's just kind of like a mind trip. Are you going to show are you just going to go person defense the whole time? Are you going to show any zone looks? Are you going to do any sort of intricate play calls? I would maybe try to see for the top level teams is a little bit tricky. Even if you play the top teams, let's say in the Masters division, it might still not equal to the closest game, or if they play a bunch of university kids that aren't so I understand the dilemma there, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of playing teams before you actually have to play them for real. I don't really see that as potentially the most beneficial, because there's going to be this weird tension of, do we give away strategies, do we not? I don't know. That's sort of how I feel about it.
You didn't answer the question.
What was the question? I thought I did.
Would you mess with them?
Would I mess with them?
Or would you practice your strategy?
Well, I would mess with them.
Would you do some fake things?
For sure.
Okay. Because if you're Furious George, you're we already got a bid. We're just trying to get some games in, make this trip a little bit more worthwhile.
So you're saying, are you saying they're going to try to go to the consolation bracket? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that they're confident enough they're just going to go for it.
Okay.
From Thursday through Sunday.
Nice. Try to go undefeated the whole time. I like it. So with that, we'll start with the first pool, Pool E, Furious George, out of Vancouver. This is the pool to watch, I got to say. Toronto Grand Trunk GT out here. Halifax Red Circus, and then Gatineau out. Pool F is Toronto Goat, Vancouver Blackfish, Durham Hound, and Sherbrooke Gentlemen's Club, SGC for short. Pool G, Montreal Mephisto, Ottawa Phoenix. It's not like you've played each other 4 times in the AUDL, but hey, you get to play each other again. And I know there was jokes about that online. Not Halifax, sorry, St. John's Regiment out of Newfoundland, and Calgary Whiskey Jacks. Love the name. Pool H, another spicy matchup here. Winnipeg General Strike, Alberta's the best team name, Alberta Fatball Club, Ottawa Strike, and Club M's Manic for Montreal. Wrap up your pools. So let's start right away with Pool E. This is the spiciest one to pick in my opinion, probably the hardest one that I had to kind of go back and forth with. So I'll let you go first, and then I'll disappoint some people with my pick.
I went 1, 2, 3, 4 as they were predicted after the pot pulling that was done. So Furious, Grand Chunk, Red Circus, and Out.
Nice.
In that order.
So I did not do that. I do not have Furious losing, though. Don't worry for those in the audience. But before I say this pick, I'm going to say this. I think that both GT and Red Circus are top 8 level teams or even higher, but they're all in the same pool with Furious George. So that's like 3 of the teams that I think should all be kind of in the higher tier. So I think sort of the potting system kind of came back to bite one of these teams. And people don't know about Red Circus. Like, this team went to Select Flight Invite, did really well in 2019. They have some people who've played not as many, as other teams with U24 stars and things like that. But they go to regionals and in Northeast regionals, and they compete with like a Phoenix, and they finish like top 5 or 6 in the region, playing against, like the other teams like Dig and things like that. So do not sleep on this Red Circus team. GT, a lot of young players. I'm not sure if some of the university students are going to be playing Easterns or with them. I think they're going to be playing with them. But either way, this is a younger team. Lots of energy, lots of athleticism. Love what they got. But I got Red Circus I don't even think it's upset because I think these two teams are evenly matched. It's honestly a coin flip in my opinion, so I could go either way with this matchup. But because Red Circus has some of that USAU series experience, I'm going to pick this upset, or quote-unquote upset. And so it's not being streamed. I wish it was, because I think it's going to be probably one of the closest pool play matchups. But that's my pick there. And we're going to stick to it. I know I've picked... I got some more upsets coming for you in this open division. Maybe because I know it more than the others, but I got more coming.
I don't have any upsets in this next pool, but before we move on, Grand Trunk, if you have any extra long sleeves, I will accept one at UCI. So come find me, give me one of your long sleeves. My regular jerseys, I'll accept it too.
There you go.
I love it. I love your swag. We shouted you out in our jersey episode, so I think I deserve one. So for pool F, I go Goat, then Blackfish, then Hound, then Sherbrooke Gentlemen's Club. I feel pretty confident about this. I feel like you probably have the same. You have Hound beating Blackfish?
Yeah, I think it's because I don't think as highly of Blackfish, mainly because I haven't seen them in a while, but also because from what I gather from us talking, is that they lost a lot of their players, like some of them to Red Flag, or like, did some of them move up to Furious as well? Is that right?
Oh yeah, it's a feeder system. Yeah. So every year they always.
So I feel like they lost a lot of people, whereas
Furious.
They lost a lot of people compared to a Hound, which retained a lot of its people. People that have been playing for the Outlaws, they retained them, and so I think just that chemistry is going to help them, especially in a COVID year. So that's why I picked Hound to beat Blackfish. I think Blackfish traditionally has been a solid team. I know they've, it is the same thing with GT as well, where they lose some of their players. And it's hard to sometimes keep the continuity year after year. So that's my pick for Pool F there.
All right, Pool G. Oh my gosh. I have Mephisto, then Phoenix, then Regiment, then Whiskey Jacks.
Chalky chalk.
I don't. Here's some foreshadowing. Not for every pool. So, but for this pool, yes.
Yeah, I have it going the same. I think this is probably, in my opinion, one of the weaker pools. Like in terms of, I think both G and H have teams in the 3 and 4 slots that aren't as strong as the Hound and Red Circus, GT and Blackfish are stronger teams in my opinion than Regiment, Whiskey Jacks, and Shrike and Manic. So I think that's why I said GT would have normally made the bracket in any other year if they had those other teams in their pool, but they don't. They have Red Circus in their pool, which makes it tough. And same thing with Blackfish, with Hound in their pool. So, Pool G I have going to chalk. That's pretty much it. I don't think Regiment, if you beat Phoenix, hey, it's going to be on a live stream, so you can prove me wrong. But I think it's going to be Mephisto in a close game against Phoenix, and then Regiment, then Whiskey Jacks. So what do you got for Pool H?
Okay, so I have AFC winning the pool, Don't laugh because you have the same thing. Oh,
I don't.
And then I have okay. And then I have Strike, Shrike, and Manic in that order.
Yeah, I got things a little bit different there. So I don't have AFC. I do love your name. I think it's really cool. Would be nice to meet you. Maybe get a jersey, you know what I'm saying? But I actually have Strike coming through and winning the pool. And then I have Manic beating Shrike, the hometown Shrike team. They've been pillaged out of talent, basically. Not that they don't have talented players now, but a lot of their players moved up to Phoenix. So they're facing kind of the same issue that I mentioned with other feeder systems. So this set up a little bit different because you don't get to actually play in a pre-quarters game like you do in mixed. It just goes right to quarters, eh? So first and second. That's why it's unfortunate for teams like Blackfish and GT where they can't even play in to get back.
Yeah, so for my matchups, I have Phoenix matching up against AFC, and I have Phoenix overtaking them. I have Mephisto overtaking Strike. I have Goat. Oh, you look excited about that.
I'm just shocked. I'm just shocked by that
Grand
pick.
Truck.
Yeah, okay.
And then we have Furious George over Blackfish. An unfortunate matchup if that is to come. So then I've got, we'll say at the top. I got Phoenix losing to Furious George. And I have Mephisto beating Goat.
Oh,
which
spice. That is spice.
Full spice. It gets spicier. I'm so sorry. But I think Mephisto is going to win. And I've got lots of friends on Furious. Maybe you'll use it as fuel. But there's something about this Mephisto squad / Royale's squad that I think there's something magical is happening for them. And that's my pick. And I stick to it until I am wrong. And then I will back out and apologize.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that. I'm actually, I'll go through my picks. I just have to clarify one of my picks there in the document there, Danny. But I have Strike and Phoenix playing each other, which is a tough matchup for Phoenix there. And so I have Strike winning, Furious beating Hound. I don't know if that game would be close, just because we've seen games before where some of these semifinals, even quarterfinals, is not close for Furious. But Go defeating Red Circus, and then Mephisto AFC, and I think will be a competitive matchup. Furious beating General Strike in the semis, and then Goat beating Mephisto in the semis. And then a rematch of 2019 CUC finals. One of my questions, Danny, is like, how motivated is Fierce going to be in this tournament? But then I think, when I think of that question, I think, like, if you're going to this tournament, you're going to win. Like, you want to win. You're not just going there for, like, giggles and, like, hanging out with your friends. So I think they are going to come very, like, sharp and focused. And so in that, I'm going to pick Furious to beat Goat. And then, I got a lot of friends on Go too, Danny. So if, maybe they use it as fuel. Maybe they'll come at me, whatever that looks like. But this is where it gets real spicy, because there's, like, a whole play-in little thing, right? So if Furious wins, then there's a second and third place game. So there's kind of a play-in bracket. So since you don't have Furious winning, you don't have this bracket to explain, but I do. So I have Phoenix beating Hound and AFC beating Red Circus. So then the next bracket would be Mephisto, who lost in the semis. I have them beating Phoenix, and I have General Strike, who lost in the semis, beating AFC. Then Mephisto and General Strike play. I have Mephisto winning, and here's the spice. I wanted to pick something a little bit, maybe some people would say off the board, but Mephisto, I am picking you, Goat. I know some of these Goat guys, they're not going to be happy with this pick, but I really like what Mephisto has done with the Royale program. They're 4-0, 5-0 against Toronto this season. So will it continue at UCI? I think it will. So Toronto, you can prove me wrong. I'm going like almost anti-Toronto a little bit here. And I think that's sometimes the difficulty with the picks, wouldn't you say, Danny? Is like, you have the city you're from, but you don't want to be like too homer. So then you like kind of go against it in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I struggle because not only is picking teams in a division that I don't know that much about difficult, but we also have no information basically to go off of the last couple of years. So I think we're doing pretty good. And I did forget to mention, but my second and third place game, I have Furious beating Goat. So I actually have it going Mephisto. The Furious does drop down in this bracket. Furious, then Goat in my like order or whatever it's called. So yeah, and then I have Phoenix, and then AFC, then Strike, and Grand Trunk. So it kind of goes down like that on my order.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. And I'll just quickly, Danie, before we get to something cool, our picks contest, which we'll talk about, but some games to watch. I already talked about it, but GT Red Circus, that is the game to watch in pool play with this other game I'm about to mention, but that is the game to watch. That is like 2 top 8 teams going at it in pool play. That's like point blank. That's what's going to happen. Blackfish Hound, same thing. Another game to watch. And then General Strike AFC. I know they've played each other before, obviously, and they're relatively close by compared to the the rest of Ontario. So I think that like matchup for what I believe to be the pool, that's gonna be like a spicy, strong matchup. So those are your games to watch in open. I mean, all the games are going to be exciting, obviously, but those are my few to pick. And now talking about picks. We've already had, Danie, I'm going to tell you this on air. We've already had like 40 entries or more. Like, that's pretty sweet. Like 40.
That's amazing.
40. Yeah. Let me just double check right now, making sure that I'm speaking some accurate information. But like 40 picks already of like people that are predicting. And I think it's going to be more as soon as we release stuff and tell people to do it. So send it to your friends, get them to do it. You win a Huckin prize. We're trying to get some of these things sorted out, and I think as we head to the off season, we'll be able to sort out some of our prizing and things like that. But yeah, we're close to 50. I'm looking at it, 49. Let's go. That's pretty cool. That's actually really cool. I'm actually pretty excited about it. So you're going to pick who's going to make quarters, semis, finals, and the winner for mixed and open, and then you pick the top 4 and all that other stuff for women's. Just a note, because some people already did this on the picks. You cannot pick Sixers. We can't do it in the form for you, but don't pick Sixers to make it to the finals or the winner. Some people did that already. They can't get there. So like, just don't pick them.
Yeah, the format's weird.
I know.
It's hard to know. We should have done like a cheat sheet.
Yeah. I tried to explain.
Or just like total finishing something. Yeah, I know. It's hard.
Yeah. But anyways, take part in the contest. It's pretty fun stuff. And last thing I'll say, Danie, is there is Easterns, which is a very fun tournament in the university scene. From what I'm told from my inside source, only McGill is coming from Quebec. Could be more, late registrations and stuff. But to be honest, I am not going to make a pick. I know I like my college picks. I'll do it for university nationals. But with UCI being the same weekend, it's going to be really hard to know which teams are going to have all their studs, all their players on both the men's and women's side. So, basically, there's going to be a team that comes in and wins this tournament that's just going to have a lot of strong talent that especially a lot of the open teams that didn't make it to UCI. So they're going to be able to have some of this talent to take home the victory. So I'm not going to make a prediction. I'm just going to predict a team that's going to make it that we're not expecting. So stay tuned for our university rankings as well. If you're a captain or coach, make sure you vote. Probably sent it to you in the group chat there, but make sure you vote. We had some pretty spicy voting and stuff, and the first results are in. So that's all I got to say. A lot of talking, but that's a podcast life. Come on.
Okay, so Theo, I do want to compliment you on your outfit right now, and it's really cute that we're matching. And this is another shout out to our sponsor VC, and another shout out to the fact that if you're a fan of the pod, consider heading over to that VC tent at UCI, picking up yourself some sick Huckin merch. If I saw somebody wearing some Huckin merch, I would lose my mind. I would take a selfie with you. I would get super excited. So make that happen for me. Speaking of taking pictures and selfies, Theo, you have to highlight our socials as per usual.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you're going to want to be tuned into our Instagram account because that's when you're going to see the first meeting of Danie and I. I already had someone ask me at UCI Masters. They were like, "Hey, did you get the video yet?" I said, "No, I have not." So we were going to meet this weekend, and people were asking about you, Danie, at UCI Masters. And speaking of this merch, I did go by the tent. First of all, just a warning here: you do need to wear a face covering going into the tent. So just for those aware, you probably have one with you, but make sure you have it with you. Even at the physio, I've seen it there too. You need one at the physio. Need one.
It's mandatory, yeah.
Need one when you go over to the tent. But I saw these hanging and I was just like, whoa, like, this is really cool. Like, we finally made it. Like, we have our merch hanging somewhere for people to peruse and purchase, and neckies as well, that with our logo. So that like honestly kind of surreal, like, to see our stuff there. I mean, I think I heard one person buy something, so hey, that's a start, but let's keep it rolling, let's if your whole team had a line of people wearing this like sun hoodie, like, that'd be sick. I mean, I don't think it would happen. Or Rebel hoodie, but
we'd have to have your whole team come on to the podcast if you did something like that. So anyway, Theo, it's like almost 2 a.m. where you live. I'm tired. It's almost 11. I need to go to bed because I got to get ready for UCI. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into this episode. I know it was a girthy one, but it was very exciting for us to
You love that
not
word.
only girthy. It was not, we got to do an awesome recap, talk about college, got to talk about Masters UCI, we got to preview Senior UCI. Now it's time for bed. Get your picks in, get your swag at the tent, and we will see you on the fields at UCI.
Hey, this is Stephen Krug, captain of the University of Manitoba Ultimate Team, and you're listening to the Huckin podcast, your coast-to-coast guide for all things Canadian Ultimate.